as we look into it in the future, it's a Goldman Sachs of crypto. We have invested around 250 companies till date. There is a way of living life which everyone is doing, and then there is a way of challenging life which only founders can do.
What would be the advice you would give to a 20-year-old or 19-year-old who is in his engineering or who is in a normal college?
So every founder out there, no matter whether successful or not, is a winner. If not today, they are successful, they will be successful tomorrow because they've already taken that first step towards success.
What are the things you think that you followed to get here, or what are your habits which you followed to get here? What is the mindset which you look in the founder before investing into his startup?
I believe that founders is that one breed in this world that is the most blessed. I couldn't join Indian Armed Forces. The next answer was, okay, do engineering. Gold has been tokenized. Silver has been tokenized. Real estate has been tokenized.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it works is...
some time ago, we discussed about tokenizing the collateral, right? So how does that happen?
If a financial system of a country cannot help a deserving student to get a loan for their education, then what is the use case of that financial system? So that's the power of blockchain. Market cap was around $1 billion or something. Today it is, I think, somewhere around $120 billion or something. The Department of Management Studies of different IITs were the ones that were talking about techno-managerial skills. Engineering is not his passion. As a boy of 18 years old, standing at a junction where you have just been, your dreams have just fallen apart. So the next thing you do is you go to your parents and say, what should I do in life now?
Hi everyone, I'm Varun Midge and I'm starting this podcast for the 20-year-olds who want to make it big in their life. Today on our podcast, we have Rishabh Gupta, who is the director of TradeDog Group, a venture capital firm which supports and invests in the early stage crypto startups. They are the part of various big companies like Ripple, Koti and many more. Rishabh has marked his journey from being a normal engineering student to a leading figure in crypto and venture capital. हमने बात करी क्रिप्टो के बारे में, फाउंडर्स माइंडसेट के बारे में, स्टूडेंट माइंडसेट के बारे में. He has shared everything you need to know, you need to learn as a 20-year-old. तो ठीक से और कंसंट्रेशन से सुनना, and I bet that you will love this podcast. How are you today?
Absolutely. Hi, Varun. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm doing good. It's a Diwali season coming on to us, the best time of the year, apparently,
Yes.
and we're going to spend a lot of time with family, the time which is the most scarce resource that we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very happy about it, very excited about it, and very looking forward for this whole discussion with you.
Yeah. So, I was a bit curious about you did MBA from IIT Kanpur. I had a dream of being in IIT 2 years back. I am right now in third year of my engineering. So I was curious, how can MBA be into IIT, right? Like that.
Great. That's a very interesting question. Even I got that question when I was applying for colleges. But I'll give you a little quick background about myself. I come from Dehradun, which is a town in Uttarakhand. A very beautiful town, a town known for its schools, a town known for its the education and for colleges now. It's near Mussoorie, like 30 minutes drive to Mussoorie. And so it's a beautiful town with a beautiful environment and a beautiful weather. But it also has one other thing which makes it amazing, which is IMA, Indian Military Academy, and also RIMC. So from the very beginning of my primary education, which is when I was in class second, I guess I was inspired to join Indian Armed Forces. I dreamt of joining Indian Armed Forces, and I did qualify NDA and SSB 2 times in the first attempt itself.
Great.
However, because of a medical condition known as cubitus valgus, which is essentially slightly the angle between your 2 bones is more than the required, which is 15 degrees. I had 18 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't join Indian Armed Forces.
Okay.
Now, as a boy of 18 years old, standing at a junction where, you have just been Your dreams have just fallen apart. So the next thing you do is you go to your parents and say, what should I do in life now? And the next answer was, okay, do engineering. That's where, from an average middle class family, that was the response I got. And that's where I qualified another examination called AIEEE, got into one of the engineering colleges in Uttarakhand called GB Pant University, which is one of the oldest colleges in India, also known as a harbinger of green revolution, has large farms and large agricultural technology set up. And since 1980s, they also set up another departments of engineering. So I did my electrical engineering from there. Now, during this time, I was exposed to two things. One was management, because I was a part of a society called Engineering and Technology Society that was hosting a lot of events, and being a part of the society gave an exposure to engage with management activities, right? And that gave me more fun and more excitement than the engineering itself. So 21-year-old guy realizing that engineering is not his passion. And
Yeah.
I think that's a story with most of the engineers.
Yeah.
In the
Right.
third final year, they realize, yeah, this is not a passion. We really gotta find our ikigai. So I found my ikigai in management, and then I started working with a startup, which is Oyo Rooms. From there, I was even more intrigued with how data works. And then I looked around because I wanted to do an MBA, but I never wanted to do an MBA like a conventional MBA. I wanted to do something where data is a daily thing. Data analytics is something that's happening daily. So there were only few colleges that were doing that, and that was IITs. Mostly the IITs, the Department of Management Studies of different IITs were the ones that were talking about techno-managerial skills, which is technology on one side and managerial on the other side. And that's where the techno manager inside me was excited to do a 2 year course on something where management and technology comes together. And that's why I chose IIT Kanpur as my place. And I couldn't be more happier to do that. It's a vibrant ecosystem, be it any course or any department. The college is very encouraging of initiatives, innovation, and collaboration among students. So it was a vibrant ecosystem with a dynamic people there. And, obviously, colleges that has produced people like Bhavesh Agarwal, people like Narayan Krishnamurthy,
Definitely.
and so on and so forth. So I think that is definitely one of the best phases of my life. So I think that's a quick introduction of myself, of how I landed into this place.
Yeah.
What was and now, yeah, we can talk
Yeah.
more about.
How were your IIT days, right? In IIT Kanpur? How was your life there? Like, what learnings did you get from there, which you implemented in your further life? What are the like how the people think there, right? The IIT guys are very like extraordinary, as the common people think.
I think I'll speak on the behalf of the third person's perspective itself, because I
Okay.
cannot take the I cannot I cannot sort of, because I didn't do engineering there, right? So
Yeah.
there are two phases. Engineers in IIT Kanpur and any other IITs are extraordinary people, and definitely because they qualify one of the toughest exams. So I don't want to take their credits.
Hmm. Yeah.
However, I can tell you, as a student in IIT Kanpur, it's the same, right? It's the
Okay.
same for everyone, right? So I'll be able to justify that position, which
Yeah.
is when you step into that university, you're told two things. One is now you will be thinking every step with an innovation. Every step you take has to be innovative, right? You do your assignment, you have to take an innovative approach towards it. You do your and then the collaboration, because you are taught about networking there. So the way the senior junior clubs are formed, where there you are meant to interact with your alumni, where you are meant to interact with, you are bound to interact with your seniors, you're bound to interact with your juniors, you are bound to solve problems that are coming your way. through different approaches. That's where you learn a lot, right? That's where you learn. I think the only thing that's missing or that's different from an average college to IIT is just the ecosystem itself, nothing else. They
Okay.
study the same course. They study the same course. The professors are almost same, equally qualified. All of them have done their PhDs. All of them have done their, masters. Uh,
Right.
so, though, and they use the same books, the same tools. The only thing that's missing there is the mindset and the ecosystem. The mindset of not giving up on a problem and the mindset of um, creating, solving, creating and solving problems is
Yeah.
what differentiates any average college to an IIT. That's what I realized, right? Take an example of any event that they would host. So
Yeah.
any event they would host, they would form a large team. They will make sure that they invite the largest uh, celebrities to their colleges, the largest teams to their colleges. They'll make sure that the whole event process is well in place, where they all the participants have a good experience. And similarly, the projects that they would work on, they'll reach out to even in their first year of engineering. I was actually very surprised. Even in the first year of the engineering, they would go out to ask for internships, for
Yeah.
free internships to their alumni that we want to learn from the first year itself. Now that is what I think differentiates an IIT and graduate or a postgraduate from an average college. And then talking about from my point of view, where I was doing my management studies there, I got an exposure to study from some of the top professors, and
Yeah.
that was a game changer for me because I realized that these professors are they not only know management, they also know the data behind it and how data is used for taking managerial decisions now. So looking at reading the data and analyzing data, statistical analysis was one of the biggest courses or one of the longest courses in my time, and that helped me a lot to look at data as your friend and take managerial decisions based on that, take business decisions based on that. I
Yeah.
think that was the time, and before people like yourself who are still doing engineering in some of the colleges, you still have a chance to go for you doing your masters at IIT. So I think
Yeah.
don't
Definitely.
lose hope.
Yeah.
Go for masters to IITs. Yes, it's a great
Yeah.
ecosystem.
I was thinking about going into management. Like, I am not interested into electrical. Like, right now, I'm also doing electrical engineering. Like, so that why I resonated with you. Like, the syllabus is very vast and very like difficult. So, like, I have a plan of doing masters. So I'll see what happens in life. Yeah.
No,
So
absolutely. Ikigai moment can be anywhere between 30th and final year of
yeah,
engineering.
definitely. I'll highlight a bit on my journey. So, I my family always told me to like do engineering from IIT and all. So I was when I was in 11th and 12th, I prepared for the IIT. But when I was in like 8th, 7th standard, I just at that time I was fortunate enough to get the access to the internet. Okay, and there was a bit problem, a financial problem at my at my house. So I was always used to search about how can I make money online. Okay, so from then used to search and I used to try each one of them for like months. At that time I got many fake websites also, so I worked on that for months and then they cheated on me. So that happened, and then I got interested into designing. Okay, and then I got one platform. So there I applied for the contributor program and I got selected there and I kept working and then it was my first earning at that time, and then it grew exponentially. So right now I am running one design agency and one social media agency, like for local and for fashion businesses, for doctors, for dentists and all. So that was my journey. Yeah.
That's very interesting. In fact, one of my portfolio companies, my individual portfolio companies, is a health tech company that
Yeah.
is solving a technology problem for dentists. So
Okay.
I do understand, and that's a big problem that you're solving because these we have realized that a lot of these doctors, they They definitely want to grow their business, but they need assistance there. They don't have the right expertise to do that. So I think yeah, that's a good niche to work on. Yes.
Yeah. So after IIT, how did you go into like VC, startups, businesses and all?
So that's another funny story. And when I was in my final year of my IIT days,
Yeah, yeah.
I came across and got a chance to meet Gaurav, who was then running a fund which was focused on blockchain investments. Now, very recently, I had a chance to read the Bitcoin white paper and how it has the power to make eliminate the borders, at least when it comes to transactions, the financial transactions,
Yeah.
and
This
how it can make globalization a much uh, faster happening thing rather than the pace at which we were moving. So I was very amazed by how Bitcoin works. But when I met Gaurav, it was only then I could understand the vision of blockchain technology and how it can solve a lot of these problems that exist today. Uh, be it, uh, be it counterfeiting of products that can be solved through putting the product supply chain on a blockchain, or could it be the lending and borrowing marketplace, which can become much more efficient in terms of the money markets when it's happening on blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where I was very excited to work in this field. And
Okay.
while my batchmates were looking out for, because 2018 blockchain was still something which was not really famous and really popular and really at a place what it is today. It was very
Yeah.
early. Just to give an example, when I was looking into it, the stable coin market cap was around $1 billion or something. Today it is, I think, somewhere around 120 billion dollars or something,
Oh,
right? So it has grown 120 times in just uh, 5 years, 6 years.
yeah.
So that was when I met Gaurav, and while he was working on his family office investing in startups, I got a chance to work in the same team, right? And that was the beginning of my journey into venture space.
Who is Gaurav by
I
the way?
was Gaurav is okay. Sorry, so Gaurav is currently my partner in the company,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And then he was the CEO of the company. He's So I joined as an analyst in 2019 in this company, starting looking at startups, and then set up together the group TradeDog Group, which is
Yeah.
essentially, as we look into it in the future, it's a Goldman Sachs of crypto. It is
Oh,
going to offer solutions and products for every industry, every vertical in finance, be it the retail audience, investment products to the retail audience, be it investing into startups, be it institutional vehicle to digital assets, and be it a platform where developers and community can come together to create products. So I think that's what we have built in TradeDog Group, and that's where my transition happened from being an MBA student to a venture capital fund analyst, and from analyst to manager.
mhm. So like you have brought the crypto part into investing, right? So I'm not getting that. Like what exactly it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, venture investing remains the same. So there's a good book called The Venture Mindset. I recently met the author in Baku, Azerbaijan, just like 2 weeks ago, and was lucky enough to get a signed copy from him. He's a professor of Stanford at of finance at Stanford University. So I asked him a question, and I'll help you with that itself. So I said, how do you look at crypto venture investing, different than the traditional venture investing? And he says, pick up any industry, venture investing remains the same. So I think when you talk about venture investing, it's the same story. You come across an idea, and you find a potential in that idea, and you find a potential in the person that's building up that business, an idea, and working on that idea. And you invest your time and capital in that person so that they can build up that into a business. That's venture investing. Now, how does crypto and blockchain comes into the picture? When you are building a business in using a traditional tech stack,
Yeah.
it's a lot of other VCs are there that can help you in that journey.
Hmm.
But when you are using blockchain as at its core, which is a decentralization at its core, and then you bring in the angle of tokenization, that's where you need very specific VCs that understands how tokenization works and how the journey of tokenization works. I think that's where companies like us steps in, where we work with these companies in helping in their journey of financing their journeys and also helping in their journey of tokenization. So I didn't bring crypto into venture investing, like I said, but we started venture investing in for crypto startups itself. Crypto
Okay.
startups are startups that are tokenizing their products, tokenizing their businesses. And that's a whole together different vertical. We can delve into it if you would like to. But yeah, I'll leave the questions to you.
Yeah. So, like, majorly you are focused on to digital assets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I also, like, 2 years ago, I used to, like, I was interested into NFTs. Okay. So I used
Hmm.
to see like how are the NFTs, what NFTs are going high. And I had access to AI, so I used to create as those images on the AI and then put it on those platforms. But that didn't even didn't work at all. It was a fun part actually. So like, can you highlight more on the digital assets?
So I think digital asset is as a space, like as it says, it's a asset that only stays digitally and there's no physical form,
Right.
right? You can, if you want to hold, for example, Bitcoin, if you want to hold Ethereum or all the digital assets that are existing today, it stays in your wallet in a virtual form, in the form of some bits and code. That's it. So that's a digital asset,
Yeah.
right? Just like I'll take an example of from your story itself, right? Up till 2018, 19, when NFTs and digital assets were not a really big thing,
Hmm.
the way it used to work is if you create an art, that art was stored in a custody, and there was no marketplace for the artist, right? They, the only marketplace was for the top artists that were able to host exhibitions,
Right.
and they were the only one that was able to monetize. But even for that, they had to host a physical exhibition where they were had to invite these participants and guests, and they would look around. It was a cost associated to it, and then the ownership of that asset was always a challenge. So, for example, if I am an artist and I created an art, and I go out to and host an exhibition. Now, an XYZ person can copy my art and host a different exhibition in a different city, and I would not even know about it, right?
Yeah.
And I can't do anything about it because I can't control that
Right.
counterfeiting. But let's look at it from the lens of blockchain. So as an artist, I create an art, I'll put a QR code to it, and I'll put that on the blockchain. Now, every time if anyone counterfeits that art, they will have a way to look into it. And because blockchain is immutable, no one can make changes. They can scan the QR code, look into the blockchain transaction, look into my sign there, and if it's there, then it's real. If it's not there, it's counterfeit. So
Hmm.
now I will be able to save the counterfeiting of my own art using just the technology. That's now this art has become a digital asset
Yeah.
because I own it in my wallet. I
Right.
can simply click on that transaction code and I'll be able to look into the art, right? And whenever I want it at my home, I can get it delivered at my home as well. But the asset that I own is a digital asset. Now, how does it helps? If you take an example of if you're an art trader, right? If you like to trade between multiple arts. So earlier you used to buy my art, then it will be held by you, and then if you have to sell it, you'll have to take it again to the second buyer, and then you will sell it to that second buyer.
Right.
Now, let's look at it from the current lens. If you have the digital asset of my art, you can use that to trade multiple times, not once, but multiple times, without changing, without the art, custody of the art changing hands. And once you have sold it, you have made your money, then it goes to the buyer. Now, if the buyer is a collector, they can claim the art and put it in their home. If they are also a trader, they can also trade it further without the art changing. So the liquidity of the market has increased,
Increased.
right? It has become more liquid as a market. So that's how digital asset has changed the way a lot of things happen.
Yeah, this was a great perspective actually. I got to learn new things. Yeah, like the digitalization of art. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And similarly, Bitcoin and all of these, if you look at CBDCs, that's a digitalization of the current currency. But other digital assets such as Bitcoin and Ethereum and others, they're new currencies in themselves. They represent a form of value, a store of value. They represent two things, a function of demand and supply. And that's what any currency is. If the demand is more than the supply, then the value of that currency goes up. Take example of dollar. If the demand of the supply currency is less, if the value of the currency goes down. Take example of the Venezuelan currency a few years ago, right? So that's where Bitcoin and all the digital asset represents. They represent a currency that is running in their respective environments.
Yeah. 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 So, like, what companies you have invested like in the crypto itself? Yeah.
We've been a part of many journeys, many startups. So basically, we are a team that invest in the people, right? So we believe that we would invest in the people that are running these businesses. Why? Because we are early stage investors. We come in very early, probably the first few investors that joins in. We have invested since 2017, 16, and before I joined. So imagine this: even if your game is dead and the game developer stopped developing the game,
Hmm.
you will still own that weapon or that asset that you won years ago, right? And you will have that vintage asset with you. So that's the power of blockchain. So when we invested in this company back in 2021, that's what they were working on. They were tokenizing and putting these assets on chain, on a blockchain. So that's one of our investments. And other investments includes DeFi investments that we have made, where there are money markets where anyone can be a lender and anyone can be a borrower. I
Oh.
remember the days. I tell this to a lot of people. When I was appearing for my MBA examination, that 7 years ago, when I went to a bank to take a loan for my education,
Hmm.
even though we had the collateral, but because my parents had never taken a loan, so they didn't had a CIBIL score because they never took a loan. Although we had a collateral, I didn't get a loan against for my education,
Okay.
and I couldn't go to the colleges outside India for my studies.
Hmm.
And I always used to think that this is not how it should work. This is not how a financial system should work. The financial system should be transparent and should be efficient in nature. If a financial system of a country cannot help a deserving student to get a loan for their education, then what is the use case of that financial system? So then, when we were investing in blockchain's tech, we came across these protocols like Compound, like MakerDAO, and some of our investments like Netiworth, which is our AI-based lending protocol today.
They were.
What they do is, even if you have a collateral, they will issue a loan in a fraction of seconds. Here,
Oh.
you tokenize your collateral and put it on chain. Done. You get a loan, and boom, now you can do whatever. You can have a repayment schedule, you can have whatever schedule, and you get a loan. Now obviously this is too early, this has not solved all the problem, it is too early in the space, but it is going to solve the problems. It is going to evolve in the next few years. It will become much easier. it will become much mature as an industry.
Hmm. It's interesting actually. Like digitalizing the
Yes,
physical things also, tokenizing.
yes. Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you want to own a Rolex watch that sits in Switzerland somewhere and you want to own it today, you have to buy it, and you have to buy it from an inefficient market where the middlemen will take a lot of cuts. Whereas if you put it on blockchain, you can buy it standing here with a click of your mouse. It will stay in your wallet, but the custody will be back in Switzerland itself. And once, let's say, the value increase, and after 1 year, you can sell it again. You can make money on the trade
Hmm.
because you own the digital version of that asset.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So that brought me to venture capital state. And then, I really like working with founders because I believe that founders is that one breed in this world that is the most blessed. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Although this statement is very controversial, because if you say this statement to the founders, they might end up crying. They're saying, "Blessed, tell me about it." The journey of a founder is a very challenging, and I've been through that journey as well. When we
Yeah.
were setting up TradeDog Group, when we have been setting up a TradeDog Group, I've been that journey of a founding team member and of a founder itself, right? So I can relate to it. But I still think that the breed of the founders, the entrepreneurs, is the most blessed breed. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because if you look at life, uh, there is there is a way of living life which everyone is doing, and then there is a way of challenging life which only founders can do. Even if they don't have anything in their pockets, they still can go out and say that I will be the best. I will be building the best business in this vertical. Even if they have like $0 in their pocket, they have the courage to say that, and
Yeah.
not only say that, actually make it happen,
Yes.
right? Which itself looks like a very unreal thing, a fictional thing. That from they call it they in fancy words it's called rags to riches, but it's in real world it takes a lot, right? Then it's the founder that would end up crying on one day because the team left and would be back without any HR department, back on LinkedIn, writing, "Hey guys, I'm building this startup and I'm looking out for the best team or some great people. Apply if you would like to be a part of that." Right? It's the founder that would be facing difficulties in their personal lives, but still go out to an event to meet an investor and say, you know what? I'm amazing today. I'm so happy that I found this product market fit, and I can make this break this game. I can change the way people look into this. I can solve this problem. I can help millions of people in solving this problem, and get the VC funding for it. Now, this characteristic and this trait of a founder is what keeps me going day in and day out. Because even in the worst of the days of the markets, when I talk to these founders, when I see their courage, I am blown away. And I think even I'm right now having goosebumps because I am inspired. Every day inspired. Every founder that I've met has inspired me from their journey. Everyone has a journey of fighting battles with their families, fighting battles against the society, fighting battles against their mind, fighting battles against XYZ, so on and so forth, and still coming out as a winner. So every founder out there, no matter whether successful or not, is a winner. If not today, they are successful, they will be successful tomorrow because they've already taken that first step towards success.
Yeah. It's relatable. There's one quote actually. I yesterday only read it. I have failed more than you tried, and it resonates with the founder
Absolutely.
directly, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A founder fails more than,
Other people ever try.
an average person succeeds. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your best investment till that into the startup or into the crypto?
I think some of our I'll say because for us it's been just 5 years as we started in TradeDog Group, actually four since 2020. So we are yet to complete the cycle, right? This cycle, but from the previous cycle that we invested in, I
Mm-hmm.
think Ripple and Koti are some of the top examples. Ripple is currently being used by 100 and I think 200 plus banks around the world to use their infrastructure for what do you call it, international transfers, right? Cross border transfers, right? So that they have you made the technology fast and efficient and cheap for people banks to use for the cross border settlements,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's one of our investments. Then Koti, we were that's it's a layer two now based on Ethereum, but it was initially built as a blockchain tech stack for payment apps to bring transparency amongst in the markets, right? So that was these are the few investments from the previous cycle. From this cycle, I guess if you look at our portfolio, I'm actually bullish on most of them and all of them rather. You take example of Drive, which is a decentralized version of a ride-sharing app. Now,
Right.
a simple problem. Think of a simple problem that today, if you go to book an Uber and an Ola, the problem that you face as a driver is that you don't know how much have has the rider opted for, and how much fare are they going to give you, and then you also don't know because the settlement is going to happen in 3 days, 5 days, 10 days from the company. Thirdly, the commissions on the rides which these companies charge are way too much.
Yeah,
And
wait.
fourthly, the search pricing, all of the search pricing goes into the pockets of these companies, large enterprises, right?
Yeah.
That's where Drive, one of our portfolio companies in which we invested in very early in 2020, they came in, which they are solving the problems for these drivers, where all of these transactions are happening on chain, which means it's called the pricing mechanism is happening on chain, where a driver gets a quote of the fares that the riders are asking for, and there is no commission model. It's a subscription model which a driver has to pay per month. Simple a subscription, and then they can calculate the certainty of all the income they're going to get from all the rides, and the settlement happens in less than few hours itself.
Okay.
So they don't have to wait. So morning they take a ride, evening they have the money in their bank account. Unlike the other traditional companies where the money hits their bank account after 3 days, 5 days, and 7 days,
Hmm.
or even more, right? So currently they are operating around 20,000 taxis or
Wow.
20,000 drivers in Bangalore, and they have recently launched in Dubai, and they're moving to a few other countries now through their franchising model. So that's one of our investments we are very proud of. Then we have investments such as Rage Effect, which is another gaming company based out of India. Vulcan Forge, another gaming company based out of Greece. Then look at Signal Broker, a company based out of Switzerland, which is solving a problem for institutional traders. Then one of our own companies, TDX, not own companies, but one of our partner companies, close partner companies called TDX,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially helping a lot of retail investors in getting hold of investment vehicles and investment instruments coming from the tokenized world, and so on and so forth. So we have invested in these companies solving problems for user, an average common user, and institutions and traders. So yes, I think these are some of the companies and I can go on and on. It's just a lack of time. I have so many other companies to name them and talk about what problem they are solving and how are they making things easier, accessible, and cheaper to the community.
That drive is also actually very interesting. Like whenever I go in the city and book a cab, I have a conversation with the driver, right? And they say
Yeah,
ki I make this much in a day and this much goes to commission. So I feel bad that
yeah.
they are charging so huge amount for the commissions, right? And this app is actually, or this token is actually solving a great problem. Like the
Actually,
drivers
this
are
app,
getting the benefit. Yeah, app.
yeah, this app. I mean, token is just a currency being used, right?
Hmm.
So token is a token. Think of token is like okay. I'll give you an example. Uh, what happens in an average journey? I think that also would be from for the people who are listening to this podcast could
Mm-hmm.
be a great explanation of, or could be a good explanation of what tokenization means.
Okay.
When you are building a company,
Huh?
what you do is you raise some funds from the venture capital companies, funds. Then you go on to raise further. Then you go on to raise more. You go on to raise more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then comes a point where you go public. That's where you invite the community to invest in the company. When you do an IPO, that's where an average trader, average community member gets a hold of your company. Correct?
Right. Right.
But what if I want to build a company that is essentially having a community from day one?
Mm.
That's where tokenization comes into action. Why? Because tokenization makes it more liquid. So
Hmm.
when you make a company tokenized, you do raise funds, but you also bring the community at a very early stage,
Yeah.
right? You bring the community. For example, if you look at Binance today is a multi-billion-dollar company. But when it was launched as a token, as a coin back in 2017, 2018, it was not that big. It was the community was able to buy the token and the coin at a very less price, at a very, very discounted price. Why? Because it was early. There was a lot of risk involved. But as the company grew, the people that bought in early were also growing,
Yeah.
right? So this is what tokenization brings in. Tokenization brings in the community centric approach where if I own a coin of a company, I have the a share of their growth because what that token represents is the value that is being created in that economy, right? That token represents the value,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so I think if you look at Drive, token is a small element of it, but look at the philosophy of which it is solving a problem. It is helping hundreds and thousands of drivers today that have been exploited by these large companies.
Yeah. I think this app will soon replace all the other platforms.
I hope so. I hope so. I will. I'm sure they will. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Some time ago, we discussed about like tokenizing the collateral, right? So how does that happen? And is it right
So
still
token.
working, right?
No, absolutely. Yes. Gold has been tokenized. Silver has been tokenized.
Oh, yeah.
Real estate has been tokenized. So
Mm-hmm.
the way it works is you take any asset and you create a digital version of it.
Yeah.
But there has to be a proof of reserves, which means someone has to verify and say that, hey, this asset stays. For example, if you have, let's say, a gold coin, and the
Okay.
gold coin has a signature of, let's say, your favorite cricketer,
Okay.
and you know that the value of this gold coin is going to go up and up always because this cricketer is getting popular and more popular day by day,
Yeah.
right? So now how it would work is we'll take that gold coin, you'll go to a custodian and say, keep this asset in your custody and give me a certificate that this asset exists and this is the total value of this asset today, or this is the total quantity of this asset.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you create a digital version of it and put it on chain,
Okay.
right? This is now a tokenized version. It
Hmm.
could be ERC 721 as an NFT. It could be tokenized multiple tokens in ERC 20. It could be different token standards from, or it could be from different blockchain. It could be on Binance. It could be on Sui. It could be on Aptos. It could be on Polygon, on any other blockchain as well, right? But now what happens is, if you have to trade this coin, there
Hmm.
are two possibilities now. One, you could sell the coin in totality, as a complete shape and form. You can sell it on a digital version,
Okay.
or you can tokenize it further, which means you can issue. Let's say the value of that coin was $1,000. Let's
Hmm.
assume for a moment, right?
Uh-huh.
And you issue 10 tokens against it because you want 10 different people to own a piece of it. So
Okay.
now each of these people own $100 worth of that coins.
Right.
Now tomorrow, the value of that coin goes up to $1,500.
Okay.
So now, because the tokens are limited, only 10, it's
Hmm.
finite. That's the beauty of tokenization. You always create limited coins, right? Unlike currency, which is infinitely inflated, it can
Yeah.
be printed as many times as you want. So
Yes.
if you have now those 10 coins, each of these coins will now be represented by $15 because the value has grown to $1,500. And the $150, sorry,
$150.
$150,
Yeah.
right? So that means each of these people who couldn't own the full $1,500 were still able to make a profit of 50% on their investment,
Yeah.
right? Which was not possible in traditional world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, so let's consider that I have a house, then I tokenize it, and then I want to take a like loan on that. So how does this
Mhm.
happen?
So there are what you would do is you will take your house, you will
Okay.
get it valued from a valuer,
Okay.
right? You will get the paper, the deed together, which is the
Okay.
property papers together. You go to a custodian and say, give me a certificate of, for example, you go to Netiworth. Netiworth is a platform that does it, right? You go to
Okay.
Netiworth and say, this is the paper that represents my house value,
Okay.
right? And this is the custodian that has given me a certificate
Mm-hmm.
that your house is of this value. Okay.
Mm.
Now, Netiworth has a marketplace. What they would do is they will go out, take this asset, and go out to the borrow lenders and say, I have a house in this city, in this country. The value is this, and they are seeking a loan for 80% of the total value. Multiple people will put up a quote against it that I will give you at this interest rate, I will give you the loan at this interest rate, and then you get your offers. And
Ah.
based on that, you pick up an offer, your loan gets you get your amount. Now you use that amount to do whatever, and then when you pay back every month, these lenders will get their money back.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's interesting.
Now, if you would go to the same thing to the bank, number one, you will have opaqueness. You don't know who is the lender. You don't know
Right.
the transparency. There are 10 different middlemen involved that would ask you for different kind of benefits for themselves before they issue this loan. And it will be a month-long process, or at least 10 days, 20 days long process. Whereas in digital assets, it's just you, as soon as you put up the value together, the lenders will start quoting you the price, the interest rates.
Right. It's being like simplified. Yeah.
It's been simplified and it becomes more liquid market.
Yeah.
That's the keyword, more
That
liquid
what
markets.
more liquid. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Like it's solving the problem of the real estate industry. Like real estate industry is not liquid. Like I was recently listening to the podcast of
Absolutely.
Nikhil Kamath. Yeah. So he used to like say that real estate is not liquid and hence he did not invest in that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Real estate market, liquidity of real estate market is a big problem that has that has not been able to be solved, even with REITs coming in, because even though REITs are do bring liquidity, but they're only for the top 50 category or top 10 categories of the real estate projects. The remaining market is illiquid, and that's where tokenization can solve it.
Yeah, we discussed about mindset, right? In the start, you focused on the mindset. So, what is the mindset which you look in the founder before investing into a startup or like company?
I think two things which I look at into a founder. Number one is definitely the character, the personality, right? How because startup, the best days of the startup are the ones where you are just thinking about building a startup, and
Yeah.
your family starts encouraging you that you're an entrepreneur. Your friends and family starts encouraging you that you're an entrepreneur now.
Hmm.
But the journey is a very challenging journey.
Very.
And if in the previous days or years of that founder. If they're a first time founder, then looking at their background, what they were doing, what were they working on, what are the challenges that they faced, so on and so forth. And if they are not a new founder, but they have already had some experience of working in companies, then looking at how did they solve problems, how do they look at problems that are that they come across. And you cannot judge this with in one conversation or an interview. So the way it works is we do several meetings with them. We meet with them like many times, in person, on a call. We spend some time with them, and that's where we get to know about the personality of the founder. How ready are they to take on challenges, and how do they deal in a challenging situation,
Okay.
right? That's one. Second is, a founder has to be a great leader,
Yeah.
right? So they need to have the right balance of EQ and IQ. If they have a high IQ, they can be a great technology guy, or a great scientist, or a great, let's say, brain behind the company, but they cannot be heart behind the company. And a company is always made on heart and brain together. There is no company in the world that has been able to build big only on the brains,
Hmm.
because brains can easily be copied, right? But heart cannot. So we need
Right.
a person which has the right balance of IQ and EQ. They need to know how to deal with the team. They need to know how to deal with the good sides and the bad sides, and the good days and the bad days of a person, of a team. So I think that's where the second thing comes up, which is a right balance of EQ and IQ. The third thing which we understand is which we try to figure out is how, uh, how do you say it, like, how flexible they are as a person. They shouldn't be flexible that they will change every day, but they shouldn't be so strict and restrictive that they're not open to ideas. They're not open to suggestions and solutions. So that's another thing that you have to look at, their flexibility. How
Hmm.
flexible are they as a person, as a leader,
Yeah.
right? And then you obviously how well they understand the product. They need to understand the market. If you are building a product, let's say you are building a podcast as a product,
Yeah.
and then you start targeting people there, which are the youth, 20s and 30s, and you start targeting your listening audience as people who are in their 70s. It's not going to work, right? Because you are talking to do different. You don't understand the market there. So that's how important it is. If you're building a mobile phone which is let's say $1,000 in cost, like an iPhone, and you start targeting an audience whose average monthly income is only $1,000, now they won't be able to afford that iPhone at any cost, right? So your target audience is wrong. So that's why you have to target the right audience, you have to target the right people, and you have to understand your market well.
Right. This is applicable in every business, like in agency,
Absolutely.
in everything actually. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like you started from zero, right? Like from you failed in some exams, NDA and all, then went into electrical engineering, then MBA from IIT, and then to this such a big level. What are the things you think that you followed to get here, or what are the your habits which you followed to get here? The key quality.
All right. I think I'll be very honest, and I think I would I have always relied upon mentors. I
Okay.
have been fortunate enough to find the right mentors at the right time at the right place.
Okay.
Right now, you can call it luck, or you can call it my persistence to find those mentors. So I've always been, I've never been shy of reaching out to a person and asking for help. Right?
Okay.
It's always, if you ask for help, you'll get two responses. Either you'll get the help, or you'll get a no.
Yeah.
Great. If you get a no, that's better, because now you get a chance to reach out to another person,
Another person.
and you expand your network.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one thing where I've always been able to find mentors to help me, not only professionally, but personally, guide me personally. right? Which has helped me to look at the problems as a challenge that has come across and then solve that challenge to get past that problem and then become a better version of myself. So that's one thing that has happened with me. From starting from my mother was my first and the best mentor I've always had. She fought a lot of challenges in her life with managing kids, managing work, managing a family, and then still making it work. She was the one who had to start work because my grandfather passed away, and then she was the only one to take care of my grandmother and the family. So she
Mm.
went to work very early, and
Okay.
she started learning very early. So I learned a lot from her about how to deal with the situations. So she was my first mentor, and then going further, meeting teachers. In my college days, I met Dr. Ravi Saxena, who was
Mm.
my professor in electrical engineering. He guided me a lot, right? And then I met my seniors in my society, engineering and technology society, which helped me to navigate a journey of becoming a good leader, right? Inculcating good leadership habits,
Mm.
inculcating traits that are good for a leader, which is taking care of the team. So I learned about how to take care of the team when I was in my college, in my engineering college. I'm a 20-year-old, right?
Yeah.
That's where when you have to make sure that your juniors are well fed, have the right access, they have the right network, they have the right
Yeah.
the right approach, right,
Yeah.
and the right guidance. So that's where I learned EQ, which is becoming a good leader by helping my subordinates.
Uh,
Then going down further in my first company, I met someone that helped me a lot in understanding how to learn a skill fast, right? And then going further, I met Dr. Rahul Varman from my in IIT Kanpur and Dr. Devleena Chatterjee in IIT Kanpur. These two professors helped me a lot. Then in my journey of becoming a better person of myself, right? And then I met Gaurav, who is my current who as a CEO and
yeah.
currently my business partner. So from an analyst to a business partner, he has been a good mentor to me, helping me in in a lot of steps in life and in different shapes and forms. So I think I've been fortunate to find the right mentors at the right time. And then because of these mentors in themselves, I got to know the power of spirituality and the
Mm.
power of what meditation holds
Okay.
for us, right? So in 2021, along with Gaurav and the team, I was introduced to Oshodhara, which is which is an organization set up by a disciple of Osho to s- help people who are seeking, right, to help them understand the power of spirituality and unlock the power of meditation. So again, since then, I have been a better version of myself every day when I practice meditation. I get to unlock a lot of secrets of the brain that we have, and the power of mind and the power of consciousness, the power of subconscious mind. So that has helped me a lot. So this is one of the biggest contributors to my journey. I don't call it a very successful journey till date. There is a lot to achieve, lot to
Yeah.
accomplish. This is just the very beginning of it. But whatever has happened has been a major contributor has been these mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I think uh, reading. Now, it could be anything. You read blogs, you read quotes, you read books, has been very helpful. So I've read Rhonda Bryan a couple of times, her books on The Secret, The Greatest Secret, The Power. Then I've learned from the podcast a lot. So I listen to some podcasts. One of these podcasts being the Founders podcast on Apple Podcast and on
Yeah.
Spotify as well. And then if you the WTF podcast by Nikhil Kamath is
Yeah.
another very solid podcast that I would recommend people. So yes, these, and then I think the recent of my learning is networking. For the
Yeah.
last 2 years, I've been learning a lot just from my network. You go out, you meet people. I always suggest this to anyone I meet. Even if you earn $500 a month, go to at least one conference in 1 quarter. One conference in 1 quarter will give you so much exposure and so much access that you will be able to learn as much as you have read 3 books at least,
Hmm.
right? So that's one of the most important lessons that I have learned, to go to multiple conferences, meet a lot of people. In your on your weekends, you can go to a club or you can go to a cafe where you know you'll have a meetup happening. Go and meet people.
Okay. You highlighted upon networking, right? So, like, if there's a person like who is in his college, who is doing engineering, but one thing I've realized that whenever you message to a person who is at such level, some level, but you are nothing right now, and you try to network, but I think that to network, you must have something in you to show. Like, so what is your take on this, or how
First
we
of all,
can?
I'll say, first of all, I'll suggest you to read a book called Ikigai,
Okay.
right? And not only Ikigai, but read more books. And I'll tell you why after this. Ikigai is a very interesting book that talks a lot about the Japanese culture, right? And just to go back to the previous question, the this book itself has changed me as a person. I have read this so many times again and again that each chapter of that book is a gem in itself. And it changed me as a person a lot, right? Now, coming to your question on, there is always a first time. Always and always there will be a first time, right?
Correct.
Yes, when you reach out to a person, you would feel that you have nothing to offer. But believe me, that person is not really looking for anything from you to offer them. When
Yeah.
reaching out to a senior person, what they're looking out for is persistence,
Hmm.
right? Not intentionally. For example, if you message someone and you know that person skips that message because yeah, it's one other message from someone coming out. But if you reach out to them again, if you start engaging with them, they'll start noticing you,
Yeah.
right? And baseline Varun is that you don't have to worry about the 100 no's or 100 rejections. You have to only wait for that first acceptance. As soon as that happens, that becomes your point of the next step. Then you reach out to the other person and say, I had a pleasure of meeting so and so, and I had a pleasure of talking to them and learning about this. And I would learn to know more about, and they recommended me your name,
Hmm.
and I wanted to learn from you. I wanted to connect with you. Can I
Okay.
meet you? Can I meet you over a coffee, cup of coffee, right? Can I meet you on a digital call, on a virtual call?
Okay.
I've built this product, I've built this podcast, and I want to understand, how did you achieve millions of views? And I would like to learn from you. I know if you could spend like 15 minutes with me. Now your name was recommended to me by this and this person.
Yeah.
So it's always a first time. Hundreds of people will say no, but you don't have to worry for that. Wait for that first yes, and then make that first yes into 10 different yes.
Yeah.
That is the only way. I'll tell you, that is the only way. Now, obviously, because I have been through that, so I always try to respond to everyone that reach out to me. That I make sure that I spend a few hours on a Sunday
Hmm.
to reply to everyone I have that has reached out to me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. I mean, I might be able to help them. I might not be able to help them, but I do respond them saying, "Hey, guy, hey, you know what? I can't help you because I don't have that, let's say, access or the bandwidth. But thank you for reaching out." So, but yes, I think from your side or from a person side, you just have to reach out to as many people as you can.
Right. Moving towards like, what would be the advice you would give to a 20-year-old or 19-year-old who is in his engineering or who is in a normal college?
So, Any 20-year-old today, if I go, I actually write a journal about writing to a letter to a 20-year-old, to
Okay.
myself 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So
Hmm.
I'll tell you what are the suggestions I write to myself.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid of breaking the conventional paths. The world is changing dynamically and even faster than you can imagine. There
Hmm.
are innovations happening, there are disruptions happening. Today, what's amazing will become old in a very short period of time. Do not be afraid of breaking the conventional paths. Don't be afraid of taking risk in life, right? If you are not taking risk, you are essentially not really doing anything.
Yeah.
Conventional paths are great, can provide you stability, but that's just uh, uh, that stability is just a delusion. It's a delusional stability
Illusion.
because it's going to become unstable as soon as disruption happens. And if you're not ready for disruption, I'm sorry, you'll not be able to survive that because you will be required to face a lot of challenges. And it's the only way you can face these challenges if you're ready to take risk. So you have to take risk. Secondly, don't worry about how much money you have in your bank. Worry about how many people you have in your network
Hmm.
because your network is going to be your net worth. So don't worry about those number of zeros in your bank accounts, at least till the time you are 30, 35. What you should be worried about is how many people you have in your network. Because if you have great people, you'll be able to multiply your zeros in days and weeks rather than years.
Actually.
Right? So that's the second advice. And the third advice I would like to give is read a lot. I know this is a very common advice. Don't worry about finishing books. Don't at all worry about finishing books. Even if you read 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages, it's okay because you will learn something. And there will be a day when you start reading the book in totality. So
Hmm.
don't, and by the way, don't replace digital content with books. Podcasts cannot replace books. So don't think that you are listening to podcasts so you're replacing books. No, you are not. Because when you're listening to a podcast, you're consuming digital content. You are listening to something. That's one sensory. There is another sensory called the vision. You need to read from a paper book or a Kindle. When you read from that, you are reading from your eye sensory, and that's where you capture most of the value. So read. So these three advice, and I think you'll be good to go in your life.
Yeah. So this was it. And so did you enjoy the podcast?
No, absolutely. It was a pleasure. I wish you all the best for this initiative that you have taken. I have been invited to a few other podcasts, and I try to sort of not attend a lot of them
Okay.
because you have to make sure that there is a brand representation. But with you, I realize that it's your first podcast, I assume, right? This is the first episode that you're shooting, correct?
Yeah, right. Correct.
Yeah. So I was looking at my 10-year-old version where I wanted to start something and I didn't get the support. So this was just to give you that support and guidance, not guidance, but support and encourage you that keep doing it. And I'm sure you'll make big of this podcast.
Yeah.